How does both the restriction and freedom of media affect individuals' beliefs and habits? I'll be focusing on places where media is partially and severely restricted, and comparing specific habits of people in those countries to people in countries where media is completely available. In the current day, 71 countries block or restrict access to media in some way, from limiting just a few news sources to completely restricting sites like YouTube. Specifically, China, North Korea, Turkmenistan, and Iran block access to social media completely, while Russia is inching towards that direction with the recent invasion of Ukraine. What do countries gain from censoring media at all? The answer is simple. Choosing information the people of your country consume silences discussion amongst citizens and prevents uprising against the government. In North Korea, for example, population doesn't understand how different they are compared to the outside world. And many, in fact, like Kim Jong-un because the only government info they have access to is overwhelmingly positive and usually completely made up. It is obvious that people will question their government, but with a lack of further information and sources that are negative, it's very hard to do so, which kind of leads into how people behave under such harsh media restriction. So, with citizens of countries only having access to positive opinions about their homeland, as a result, they become more vocal about how great their country is compared to others. Because heavily censoring countries like China and North Korea force-feed media to their people, conformity is surprisingly easily achieved and common. Parades go on frequently in these countries, and people worship leaders like gods because some are truly convinced that they are. In places that aren't as restrictive, however, uprising against the government isn't uncommon to see, and that's what we've kind of seen in Russia with the recent invasion of Ukraine. The invasion of Ukraine has caused a lot of media issues. Almost the entire world stands against Russia, the morals of Russia's attack, and Russians have began anti-war protests in their country. In response, Russian officials have arrested protesters, and media has become heavily restricted. All recent information has been controlled, putting a false perspective on the population, and the Russian government is essentially blaming Ukraine and saying that their invasions are completely harmless. This extreme misinformation paints the picture that Ukraine is an enemy, motivating more soldiers to fight, and Russia has the 4th largest army in the world now. This kind of connects to the Estonian Song Festival, because with Estonia's independence from Russia, their people are much more independent and free to express themselves. More of a culture is clearly present because there's freedom to think beyond just what the government is saying. So many gather because they have pride in their homeland that's been learned by themselves and not just by what they're force-fed through media and through their government. They can now speak their true thoughts and express their values which they would possibly be arrested for if they were Russian citizens. Now, what about when a population has complete access to media? Undoubtedly, with what we saw through Estonia, it allows more independence than in censored countries. However, because of how widely used social media has become and the wide ranges of sources available, actually a high percentage of US adults say that social media has negatively impacted the way the country is going today. It is well known that because of increasingly polarizing media and the ability to tune out information we disagree with, wide media essentially brings the left further left and the right further right. So continuing to talk about the effects of increasing exposure to social media, the article Ultra Fast Fashion is Eating the World by Rachel Monroe covers how latest trends have taken control of users, which goes beyond fashion can be applied to all of social media. Fans who follow a certain celebrity desire similar clothing and items to them, causing many people to be interested in the same things and go down the same paths to be cool or to not have FOMO or fear of missing out. Companies try to create trends because people will fall into their trap and buy the product just to become more popular. So we've seen brands essentially force trends about because they know that people will buy the product if it's trending. Media is constantly being consumed. From us always on some kind of social media on our phones, news always on TV screens, and websites online. Every decision we make has some influence by media as we spend so much time consuming it. So much so that 23% of 18 to 29-year-olds, or the main social media group pretty much, have changed some personal opinion based on what they've seen on social media. This kind of means that opinions are becoming more altered by what we see online rather than what we truly think, and less independence is present because of it, because people are making decisions based on what they see through social media rather than their true values. So in conclusion, decisions and thoughts are always being influenced by our exposure to social media, leading to less independence. When that media is restricted, however, even less independence is present and the population becomes radicalized.
Thank you. What information did you need that you weren't able to find?
I kind of wanted more graphs and data points about the recent use of social media and how like trends have taken over our world, basically what ultra fast fashion was talking about, but I wasn't able to find the data I kind of wanted.
Okay. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why are those questions important?
I think I connected the Russia-Ukraine conflict because of I wanted to connect it to current day as much as possible and connect like restrictions of media into the current day because I think that was important to do.
Okay, thank you.